Radio Zero.
It's Radio Zero with Rick and Rose, Friday, August 19th, 2022. I'm in FY23, so I don't know about you guys, but... Oh, Arlene Marshak invited me to do a group video chat. I can't right now, Mom. I'm on the radio. I'm on the radio.
You can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts. Go to radiozero.us. Got an RSS feed for all you old school people. I'm no longer hand coding the RSS feed, though. That was back in the old days. We're live streaming on Facebook on the Radio Zero page and on the Poster Children page. We're on Twitch at PCJCUSA and on the Poster Children and live streaming on the Poster Children YouTube channel. You can patronize us at patreon.com/Radio Zero.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Thank
now
you
I've got it.
for patronizing us.
Yes.
All of you.
Thank you. Now I'm on the Radio Zero. So just a second ago, I was going through my Facebook feed as one does, and I saw Fun for the Entire Family. Is a picture of the Battleship game cover. Battleship, remember Battleship?
Yeah.
From a long time ago?
We have a classic Battleship it's sitting in the TV room right now.
So if we do, so there's a picture of a man and his child playing Battleship, and it says "Fun for the Entire Family," and like behind the man are the wife and the daughter
Are watching.
No, they're washing dishes.
You're kidding.
No, I'm not kidding.
Is that really on the box?
I think it might be. Yeah,
I think you need to
just
go
saw
look
it a second ago. You want me to go look?
I think it's a joke.
You want me to go look? Should I go look?
The reissue wouldn't have that. Ours
Yeah.
is not the original.
Oh, okay. All right. So it's an old school. All right. Well, it looks totally legit. So of course I sent that to my family, and now my mom's trying to FaceTime me, but I can't. All right. So here's
I
the.
can't.
I just can't. I have to pull up the Poster Children Facebook so I can, respond to people. So let's see what I'll have a response. They're already Tim Bowers, greetings from nowhere in particular. He must be in Bloomington. And Dannon says, happy Friday to you all. That's great. Okay. Well, I have my cup of coffee here.
Yeah, I had marked on here coffee update.
Oh, because you're not drinking coffee still.
I've made it.
For a whole week.
More than a whole week.
Oh, okay.
I stopped drinking while you guys were in Florida. It was part of my test, my sleep test. I was doing all sorts of tests to see what affected my sleep. But I talked about this last time. But so it's been at least 3 or 4 weeks. It's been a month without coffee, and I made it through
this
startup week, whatever it is. Getting ready for classes week.
I felt so bad. So we just had our first faculty meeting of FY23 of this semester.
You've sold out when you start talking. You say FY23 instead of
Larry
fall.
likes my coffee cup. It
fall
is
semester.
Awesome. I'm an administrator now. So I had to call the meeting, and I felt like I was a month ago I had a warning, get prepared for the faculty meeting, and I saw that and I was like, oh well, it's too far out now, and then it just kept coming closer and closer, and I had a Word document, a collaborative Word document on our whatever shared drive and stuff that I was just taking notes in, but I don't know, I was terrified about it. And then when you guys all walked in, I'm not wearing a toga. It's like an express. It's a sellout shirt. When you guys all walked in, there's 10 faculty members now. It was
weird. When I came into the room, everybody's talking, and it felt like the first day of preschool or something, where it's just this noisy kind of room with all different chairs, because it's also this strange room that has got too many seating options. It's game design room, and
it is like a preschool room.
Yeah, right. But also just the fact that so many people were talking, and it was vibrating, and it was all of a sudden, we've hit some sort of new scale with because they're 10 people all of a sudden. It used to be like 4 or 5 people sitting around a table.
Right.
Now this is the first year that it's turned into this larger, more uncontrollable, multi-limbed beast.
And I like last year I felt weird like monopolizing the whole conversation because it was kind of like a round table, like, oh, what do you guys think and stuff. And starting last year it was like, no, it's going to be 1 hour instead of 2 hours of meandering, complaining, which is what we did, which was fun. But anyway, yeah, I guess it went okay.
Well, yeah, if you think about the School of Music meeting we had, that's what it was. It's the director standing up and talking, and some people saying things, but it's like you gotta plow through so much information, and there's so many people. It's like everyone can't talk anymore.
Yeah,
it's like preschool. It's like
I was the teacher of the preschool. So, and I kept kind of trying to read the room, like, is this guy bored? And like, is Rick mad? And like, it's like, like, no, you were fine. You're always fine. But like, I know you're always worried you're going to talk too much. And then, is the person who used to be the director going to be okay with me monopolizing everything? Cause he was a great director and, whatever. This is boring, way more boring than Dannon posting that he just found several eBay listings for the 1967 version of Battleship with that cover. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
We're going to have to go look at our copy when they did the retro reboot. I mean, I bought it specifically because I didn't like the robot Battleship and got that a while ago. And yeah, I didn't notice anything. I feel like it was, it's like I'm
laughing about something else.
The men and there's more gender equity in the retro cover, the reboot.
Yeah. Tim Bowers says 10 people in the faculty meeting probably felt like a poster children's show in 1990 in Dayton.
Or quite a few different poster children shows, all different eras.
Not only in Dayton.
I have a new face I found while I was waiting for you to arrive. Let me see if I can do it just for the live streaming audience.
Sarah's asking if anyone pooped their pants. I almost did. She said that's what happens on the first day of preschool. I nearly pooped my pants. What's your face? I can't see because you've got a beard. I had a whole discussion with Ian Mackay about beards.
The beard is part of the face.
I had a whole discussion. Like, all right, so we were talking about, what is that called?
Beards?
No, we were talking about getting your female parts cut off.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I had a conversation about mustaches with my 13-year-old, with our 13-year-old today.
Oh yeah, he wants one, right?
Yeah, but I'm trying to explain to him. It's like, no, you're still in the peach fuzz phase, and he said, no, there's more going on than just peach fuzz. And I'm like, no, the regular fuzz, and then the junior high.
Oh, is he going to have one of those 7th grade like?
He's not because he doesn't want it. He just wants.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, does he want to shave?
No, well, I talked to him a little bit about it. I don't think so.
Oh my God, that's so like
that's. I explained to him a bunch of things like I couldn't grow a full beard or even a partial beard until I was in my 30s, and then I also said that I don't think I started shaving until I was late in high school.
Yeah.
like I think you take after me. It's going to be a while before you can pull off. And again, you would argue, can anyone pull off facial hair? But the question is, I think he's the timeline. Genetically speaking, I don't think it's in the cards for another 10 or 15 years.
Was he sad about that?
No, he did not like that part of the conversation.
Well,
I would have at that age, I would have just been humiliated and embarrassed talking about growing facial hair. Even the suggestion of, maturity.
So you've
puberty.
Yeah.
I would have been like mortified. So
he's a little bit more. He's
a little mortified.
He screamed at me the other day. He's like, "You're gonna ask me if I have pubic hair again? Why do you always ask me if I have hair growing on my pubes?" And he's screaming at me and stuff. I'm like, I didn't ask this time. I don't really care that much, but why wouldn't you want to tell me if you had hair on your pubes? That's like, look, I have a hair on my pubes.
That's like the time when I got diagnosed with hepatitis in high school. It was my senior year of high school, and I think my mom was with me at the doctor, and he was asking me a bunch of questions, and then he said, "Is your stool oddly colored?" Which is a symptom. And I said, "Yes." And then my mom said, "You didn't tell me that."
Oh, yeah, yeah. I love that story.
I think we laughed. I don't know if we laughed or whatever, but it was a funny moment where it's like, I'm not going to tell my mom.
We're wasps. We don't discuss our poop.
Well, yeah. It was like, there's no way I'm going to tell my mom my poop has turned green.
So do you find that we're bringing our kids up a little bit differently than you imagined, I guess?
Than I imagined?
Yeah,
I don't think I had. I don't see.
Did you think your wife in the future? Did you imagine your wife walking around the house naked all the time?
As I was playing with my Barbie, what was it called? Dream House?
No, your Battleship game.
My Battleship game was that's what I was dreaming of.
Battleship game is the name of this.
My fantasy was that what I imagined my future was is I'd be playing Battleship with my son, and my wife and daughter would be cooking.
But naked. Did you no? So like I regularly walk around the house naked, and I
think that's a misrepresentation of what happens. But yeah, go ahead.
Have you ever seen me walk around the house naked?
Yeah, I mean, you make it sound like it's like some like common prancing around thing.
No, I just if I'm naked and I need to go somewhere in the house, I go there. That's all. I don't like regular. Well, yeah, okay. So, and I do put my clothes on when Dairy King's girlfriend is here. So that's good. Actually, one time I think I was naked. I like peeked out of the bathroom and she was there, and I was like, "Oh, sorry." So yeah, my question to you is like, have you like at any moment like during the last 35 or 40 years together, like thought to yourself, wow, this isn't how I expected parenting to be with my wife, or like,
No, I don't think I had
good
any.
Because
I think I was. I think it was probably more like, wow, I actually have a wife and children. That would be that's probably the most surprising part. Would be to me.
Yeah,
the fact that
okay, yeah,
it worked out.
Yeah.
All right, you don't have to worry so much.
Okay, Joe Chrisman has provided some JavaScript about facial hair. So that's like a 2 strikes.
That
you're
sounds
out,
like
Joe. I don't
sounds like
JavaScript
like
and
his
facial
account
hair.
has been hacked.
Maybe. Well, he's got facial hair though, right?
Yeah.
So you know what I came up with? I came up with a number yesterday as I was walking around the halls of ISU and greeting the faculty of the School of Music. I've decided that 95% of the people that I run into every single day, I don't know their names.
That's possible.
I'm sorry, the people who run into me and say, "Hi, Rose." That's what I mean. "Hey, Rose, how's it going?" I'm like,
okay.
No idea who you are.
Not to upset you.
Yeah.
But how is that any different than the whole history of your life? If you think back.
Not, but like I've been in the school for 15 years. I should know. Like these people are like, "Hey, Rose, how's it going? Wasn't that fun yesterday when we hung out for 12 hours? I mean, it's like, I don't know. I don't recognize you. I don't know who you are. I know I've seen that face before.
Is that maybe that's just the way you are.
I have like facial blindness.
Yeah, that's what Brad Pitt says too. I don't believe that.
Good, I'm like Brad Pitt.
I do. I have a theory though. I do have a theory. So
this was
my theory is it's not facial blindness. It's because we spent so much time touring and talking to people, selling stuff at merch booths. At some point, you've seen so many people that everyone looks familiar, and therefore also you don't know anyone because you can't tell if it's actually someone you know or someone who just looks like someone you saw.
Okay, I'm
selling
on that.
Selling a T-shirt to.
Did you buy a T-shirt from me in 1997?
Or
in Portland?
Are you
the person who teaches
who
next to me?
co-taught with me?
Yeah, co-taught with me, exactly.
Last year.
Or both.
Or both, exactly. So that's my theory.
Okay, all right. I like that theory
problem
that I'm not
because,
not brain damaged.
Well, I'm not saying
Not that there's anything wrong with it. But
I'm saying that it's a different type of problem. It's not face blindness. It's like you get. So if because that's the thing is when that I've told this story many times. The Treat Williams story, which is
you saw Treat Williams.
Well, yeah, when we were in New York
Yeah.
that one time,
Yeah.
right? Walking down
Yeah.
the street, and I looked at him, and I recognized him.
got life, mother.
Wow,
I got.
pulling out a
So I
Deep-
know I can.
deep
I
Treat
can
Williams
sing.
cut.
I can sing the music to Hair. If you fart, I can tell you what note it is.
talent.
But I can't recognize the person whose office is next to me.
But yeah, that moment, like we were walking down the street, and I saw Treat Williams, and I recognized him. I didn't recognize him as Treat Williams. It's like, oh, that's someone I know, and I had this moment of recognition, like, oh, I know you. And then he looked at me in the same way, like he thought he knew me, not that he didn't, but it was like,
You're Rick from Poster
no,
Children.
no,
I
it
saw
was
you
that
in
that
Dayton.
momentary human connection where you see someone you know, like out on the street or something, and you, oh, hey, and
Yeah.
but then I went, oh no. And like had a brain fart where it was like, that's Treat Williams. And he had a human moment, and then he realized, oh no, that's just another person who recognized me.
Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
so
Were
what
you
I'm
on
saying is
acid at the time?
no, I was
Okay.
well, it was after, we were in, it's always, I think
It was
if
New
you-
York, right?
Yeah,
So,
late
yeah.
80s, early
Yeah.
90s, New
Okay.
York.
So well, yeah.
Might as well have been, right?
Right.
That was a crazy time. Pre-Giuliani.
Yeah.
And yeah, so if you think about that, if you see a lot of people and then you have that familiarity thing, but then you don't actually know the people, I think it can mess with your head
Okay.
and your ability to recognize people.
And that's
because-
why I can't hear people either, because I was on tour for 20 years.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
think they're all connected. And so that's the other thing is like huge rock stars, right? They get pretty isolated pretty quickly, right?
Yeah.
And if they're playing in front of a huge audience,
Yeah.
right? They may see one person in there and they may, but probably not because of the lights and everything like that. The number of people they interact with actually kind of goes down, right? A little bit. Like famous people. But what I'm saying is that we had an interesting kind of life where we spent a lot of time, talking to people.
Yeah, tons
Directly.
of people. Yeah, right. Yeah, because we were not on our pedestal.
Right.
So let me ask you
and then
this.
and then you'd go to another town and you're just like cycling through people constantly seeing them, and so it's like, to me at least, I always feel like I've seen everybody already. Like
Have you seen that
every type of
AI
combination
that
Yeah,
creates a
exactly.
that
Yeah,
I
it's
wrote
like
about
that-
that in my book even.
Yeah, that AI that creates people that look like people, and it's like
Yeah.
at some point it's just like, oh, everybody looks like someone I've met at some point in the past 30 years.
Do you think that I could buy an RFID, like a card reader, like a card reader, and that like kind of reads all the cards around me, in like a 10-foot radius, like all the credit cards, and then I could find people's names, like the names of people who are standing near me, so that I would know that, oh, that's
Well, this is my argument for
Craig Jackson.
Well, this
you know.
is my argument for augmented reality.
Yeah.
This is to
Yeah.
me
Yeah.
the killer app of augmented reality. And everybody says, "Oh, Google Glass didn't go anywhere." But basically, if I had a pair of glasses that did facial recognition and told me everyone's name,
That didn't
right?
cost $10,000.
Right.
You would buy it. I would buy it.
don't know.
I
I
would
might
probably
buy it if it cost $10,000 because it
Yeah.
just.
But you always know everybody.
So then you have that layer and you have all that facial recognition. You sit around a table. You go to a show. There's a crowd, and then a little flag pops up, and the person your friend who's at the show also, it pops up above them where they're at, and you're able to walk over there and see
Yeah.
them. All that kind of stuff, to me, is the killer part of augmented reality. And what frustrates me is that I don't see a lot of that yet. And it seems pretty simple to make. Like, you've got these huge companies that are scraping every bit of data about us and tracking us. These Facebook, Google, and Apple, right, are already doing all this and have all that technology and have the facial recognition and everything like that. Why aren't you just cramming it all into one, evil product that you can wear on your face?
So Danny Ingram says he dreads large social events because he's terrible with names. The prospect of having to introduce people is a phobia, even people he's known for ages. Same here.
I think
Same here.
Yeah, I have that
Yeah.
problem too. I think everybody.
No,
does.
you always know everybody. You always know. You're like in that. Oh my God, Veep. Okay, in
Yeah.
Veep, the guy who helps, like I can't remember his name. You're like that to me. You're like, oh,
Great.
that's whatever. That's this person, And I never because you were missing the other day, and me and this other one of our fellow faculty were like talking to somebody, and we after that person left, we were like.
Who
I
is
was like,
that?
who is that? And that, I was like, oh, thank God, now that person left. So who was that? And then my colleague said, I don't know. I thought it was this person. I was like, oh
thought
shit,
you
Rick's
knew.
not here. Rick's not here. Joe says you've seen a million faces and you've rocked them all. Larry says, this is a good one. Larry says, I heard people you don't recognize in your dreams are also dreaming about you at the same time.
Ooh, that's creepy. What about people you recognize? Oh,
Yeah.
the reason why it has to be people you don't recognize are dreaming about it, because if it was people you recognize, you could just ask that person did you dream about me last night? Because I dreamed about you. So that solves that whole problem.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh yeah, because if you were actually sharing dreams, then why would they be exclusive to only people you don't know?
So anybody listening to this podcast, like when you're standing with somebody and somebody introduces themselves to you and they're standing with somebody else and that other person doesn't say your name, that's because the other person is like me and Danny and we don't know who you are, even though we've known you for 25 years and you're my mom or something. Even I don't know who you are because I don't recognize your face, so introduce yourself. You know how you're like standing, you just introduce yourself. Don't wait for the other person to introduce you because they may have forgotten your name. They may be scared and have forgotten your name. And this always reminds me of Professor Resnick, right? I've told the story about like this guy, like poofy red hair at U of I, like my favorite, like he was my combinatorics math 313 teacher, right? I think, or 393, I can't remember. Great. Oh my God, what a fantastic teacher, right? And I loved him, and he taught like it was a class of like 100 people, probably 198 men, probably, and now I'm there.
There you go.
No,
now you realize,
shit.
right? So
Fuck.
continue with your story. And
I'll
then we can
continue with
unpack
my
it.
story. 30 years later, I run into Professor Resnick in like an elevator at the Beckman or something at U of I, and I'm like, oh, it's Professor Resnick. Oh my God, I love him so much. Oh, should I talk to him? Should I say, that he changed my life and I love him and he was so great and stuff? Should I say anything to him? No, it'll just drive him, it'll just be weird. And so as the door opens and he looks at me and he goes, oh, hi, Rose.
But yeah, so
30 years later, but
right.
and
But
and so the first
30 years,
the first
and
time
that's how many women
this is the first
in his classes there were, right?
This is the
30. So
first-
he only has to remember 30.
it's the first
people.
time I told the story like that, realizing I was probably the only woman in the class. Oh, that's really sad.
People remember you.
People dream about more. People you dream about more often. Strangers you dream about are probably a one-time thing, says Larry. This is like, you should go into do your own podcast, Larry, about people who are. This is very interesting. Where are you getting your information?
I don't know. I don't think it has
just
legs.
making it up?
I think that's just one episode. I mean, it's not like you can spend you can't have a podcast for years if all it is you talking about random stuff. Like
I'm purposely drinking
dreams.
out of this coffee cup now because I hope Sarah Garibaldi sees it because I think she would like it and I wish I could get her one. But can you play the woman music for her? God,
why does it?
damn it!
I keep thinking it's. It's a little hot mix there for you.
Thanks for listening.
I was joking.
Oh, Larry says he reads a lot of weird books.
Yeah, no, you could
Read.
do a podcast.
What is read? She likes
the
it.
joke was
Yay.
as I was joking about our
Yeah,
podcast.
about our podcast not having
That's
legs. Right. Yeah. Well, it doesn't matter, does it?
I wasn't saying it didn't have legs. I'm saying that you can do a podcast.
Yes. Okay.
Anyone could do a podcast.
All right. So what's on
And
the
they
docket for today, as they say?
Well, we got
probably too
35
much
more
coffee.
minutes. Yeah, I can't think of Well, I've got other stuff, but there was something else we were talking about. Did we finish what we were talking about? I guess we did because I can't remember what we were talking
Joe
about.
Christmas says maybe people we dream about live on another plane. Everything, everywhere, all at once. Here, okay. So
Like we're all like this is a lost
yeah,
thing where we're all on
yeah,
an airplane
yeah.
and
No,
different
come
airplanes
on.
flying by.
Yeah, thanks. So I bought. I heard that you couldn't get. Well, I think A24, like not a sponsor, studio ran out of googly eyes, like packages of googly eyes that were promotional items or that you could buy to promote the movie Everywhere, Everything, All at Once.
How are they
Everything,
different
Everywhere,
than-
All at Once. They're not different. So
Oh.
I went to Michael's and I bought like every package of every size. Yeah, She-Hulk. I guess I'm gonna have to watch that.
Give me a break, really? Sorry.
Back to the eyeballs. I bought like every size of eyeball, and then at my office, somebody pasted my name on my my door. I have a new office for the director of the Creative Technologies program, and it's a huge office, and I'm in love with my office. And so somebody has put my name. It says Rose Marshak, Director of Creative Technologies, and so I pasted a big googly eye. I was going to put 2. And then I thought, oh no, I'm going to put 1. I put 1, like the
In
third.
place of your O.
No,
Oh.
I put it above the label.
Okay.
So it's right in the center above the label. Like when Michelle Yeoh puts puts the third eye, does the third eye thing.
Got it.
And if I had like a nickel for everybody who walked by and said, "Oh, the googly eyes. Oh, I love the googly eyes." And then said, is that like Cyclops or something? Why do you have 1? And everybody who's come by has said something about the googly eyes also. And then I say, and then they ask me a question about it. And then I say, did you see Everything Everywhere All at Once? And they all say no. So apparently nobody has seen that movie.
No people in your peer group, your academic peer group.
Well, what's that all about? Who has seen it then? All of my family members who I made watch it and were like,
Yeah.
what the fuck?
Why did you tell us?
Yeah.
you would
And
like
I was
this?
talking, I will name drop Ian Mackay. I was talking to him, even he hasn't seen it. He's like, oh, is that crazy movie? I mean, who? Oh, Heidi saw it. Okay, good. Hopefully Heidi liked it. Did you like it? Heidi?
There's
Or
a
she hasn't
delay.
seen it. Oh, Sarah says the teacup has legs. She had one in orange, but she dropped it. She was going to mention it. She likes it. Okay, good. So it does have legs, and I broke it. I broke this teacup, and I glued it back together, and it's staying together like the man who put the crazy glue on his head and on his helmet and glued himself to the beam back in the day. Remember that?
I do remember. And did you ever notice in the background he's hanging off of that I-beam with the helmet on?
Yeah.
That's glued with crazy glue, and there's
two
his,
women
his,
washing
his wife and daughter are washing dishes.
That's crazy. If you're just joining us right now, what I think is crazy is I just saw somebody. Oh, Heidi loved it, of course, right? The movie. If you're just joining us, we're flabbergasted to see the cover, the 1967 cover of the game of Battleship, which says "Fun for the whole family." Has a man, a dad, and his son playing Battleship, and women are represented in the picture too, where the mom and the daughter are washing dishes in the background. It's crazy. Oh, Larry's going to watch Everything Everywhere All at Once. Don't hate us afterwards.
What's funny is I believe when we bought the Battleship game, my mom said, well, me and your uncle used to just play that on paper. It was like,
Your mom's hardcore.
well, no, it was just like,
Yeah.
wow, this
They
is a
They
game.
plasticized it.
Yeah, this is a game you don't need to buy. You just get 2 pieces of paper and you mark, and then you just call out. And I was like, what? How is that? You mean this game existed before plastic?
Oh,
Not
see?
before plastic,
You could
but it
be
was
part of
just-
the game design sequence.
But I believe my mom played it, so
So she wasn't washing. Who washed the dishes then?
yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so I know what's on the docket, like, because I talked about this. Like, I often come into Rick's, where Rick is watching TV at night. Apparently, you have time to do that.
It's my decompression
It's your
time.
decompression time. Okay, that's good. And this time you were watching some TV show where people are doing survivalist things.
Alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
is
got
that
roped into Alone. It was on.
Isn't dishwashing fun too, Danny?
Let's make it a game. Yeah, that's the thing is nobody ever talks about the game of plates, which is pretty much the same box except it's same illustration, but it's a mother
for
and
them.
daughter playing this game with plates, and then the father and son are in the background. I think they're cleaning a rifle.
There's Thich Nhat Hanh, I think, that monk like writes. I think it was him who writes about washing dishes. Just like a wonderful like a meditation on like why you shouldn't be upset when you're washing dishes. Anyway, go on to the Alone. Is that what it's called, Alone?
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember what I was watching. I think I watched the movie Seconds with Rock Hudson, directed by John Frankenheimer. But I'm going back through movies that were shot by James Wong Howe, who's one of the first Chinese American filmmaker or cinematographers.
Well,
Went from the silent era. I think it was he Cecil B. DeMille's? I can't remember whose cameraman he was. Went through from the silent era through to like the early 1970s, I believe. But
what does this have to do with survivalist with Alone?
and so I finished watching that, and then all of a sudden Pluto. I had to watch it on Pluto, I think. And then I also watched HUD on Pluto, which James Wong Hong.
I came in while you were watching that.
Wong Hao, sorry. Did the cinematography of, which by the way, HUD, I never really realized how, Last Picture Show is much more square looking, whereas HUD is it's CinemaScope, I think, even though it's black and white. But I know, and they're both Larry McMurtry stories. I didn't realize that the last time I had seen HUD, whenever that was 50 years ago, and then The Last Picture Show. I'd never made the connection between the two, but and so watching the two is just kind of like, oh, I always thought The Last Picture Show was this kind of, revolutionary movie, but it's kind of just another Larry McMurtry People in Texas movie shot in black and white. And I guess the radical thing is in 1971, right? They weren't making black and white movies anymore. Anyways. Yeah, sorry.
No, Danny's excited for you. He says that he loves Frankenheimer. Watch 7 Days in May, a classic.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure you've watched.
And Seconds I've watched many times, but watching it, well, it's hard not to watch it and think about the cinematography, but also realizing that so James Wong Howe was pretty old when he shot that film. But the crazy stuff they were doing, but also it sounds like John Frankenheimer kind of bullied him into doing a lot of that stuff. Use the wide angle lens.
All right, that's
and
what I was
like
wondering. Yeah. But what does this
uh,
have to do with
Oh,
Alone?
and there's a scene, there are a couple shots where he's got the camera bolted to a character's head.
Really?
Have you ever seen that? Like Spike Lee has used that quite a bit. It's a really and now you see it. For a while Spike Lee did it quite a bit, and then it started getting used all over, like in horror movies and stuff. But there's that. It's a really strange effect because the person moves, but they stay static. It's a very specific effect that you can't use too much, and it's an early version of it. Anyways, so once the movie was over, Pluto pops on, like the on-demand shifts back to a whatever the broadcast stuff is, fake broadcast stuff. And there was an episode, and there was some person trying to build a lean-to and catch a fish in the middle of nowhere, and then there were other people.
And then you were hooked just like the fish.
I was hooked just like the fish. I don't know what it is about this show, but it was just like, it was the third season. So I watched the whole third season, and now I think I'm watching the seventh season. But just this idea of people, and it was a really early episode, so it's like...
Explain what it is.
So they take 10 people, 10 kind of survivalist or outdoorsy kind of people, and they drop them in the middle of nowhere. The third season, the first one I watched, was in the middle of Patagonia, like on a lake, isolated lake. And each of these people, they get dropped off alone. They're at least five miles away from each other. They never encounter each other, so they're alone. They get a certain set amount of equipment.
And
that they can choose
they have
from.
a camera, so they're videotaping
They have
themselves.
cameras with them. They videotape themselves, so they're also responsible for shooting themselves, videoing themselves. So they have GoPros on their head and they're trying to shoot a bow in it. Well, that was the thing about Patagonia is there's nothing but fish. They could only fish from the lake. They couldn't eat the deer. Like a deer walks up to this person or walks by this person and they can't shoot it because it's protected. And then this other guy is like, I could have probably caught a bunch of mice, but they tell us that the mice have hantavirus, so we can't eat those either. So they're
they're forbidden from eating wolves too, I think, or from shooting wolves.
I can't.
Said. No,
that would have
was
been
like
that would have been a Canadian one. I think. I don't think there were any
okay.
wolves in Patagonia. There might be, but I don't remember any wolves in that season. But definitely when they go back to Canada,
there are little comments on as you're watching
Yeah.
it. They're little like the editors have put comments in.
And you didn't notice this, I don't think, but like Dow and I are the young one was watching it with me, and it makes a breathing sound when the little trivia balloon pops up, and then it goes away. It's you'd almost think it was like a little whoosh sound for it to appear, but I think it's the sound of someone like sighing, stranded in the middle of nowhere. But anyways, they compete to see who can survive the longest off the land. And the person who survives the longest gets $500,000.
And then
and so they're crazy. These people are going crazy. One of the guys was saying he was going crazy because he knew he could call on the sat phone at any time and say, I want to get out of here. So
yeah,
it's
they've got a phone that they can if they just dial and then the boat will come, as you said.
They can't call their family or anything with the phone. They use the phone only if they're they've cut off their leg. Right, stabbed themselves. Someone shot or stabbed themselves with an arrow, for instance, and they have to call the medical team, or they're tapping out. They've given up, right? And then there's always the Apocalypse Now shot of the boat coming to take them with the camera crew to take them away.
So
and they've given up.
The only tap out I'd seen, so I've been watching this a little bit with you. Like I'll sit in the room and watch it with him, and I don't watch, I can't pay attention to anything because I don't recognize the faces in it, right? I can't tell.
That's the thing, is like there are 10 of them at the beginning. It's like there are always a couple of rustic women and then a bunch of beardy guys, and there's always one African-American guy. And it's like you can't keep them all straight because it's just a bunch of woodsy people. They all
look the same. They're all survivalists.
The kind of people who could survive out in the woods for 6 months or 6 days.
Yeah. So I'm watching it, and people are like when they like this girl trapped a rabbit, and she started crying because she was so hungry. Because she hadn't had food in days, and she was just like these people have gotten so like, and they just do nothing. They don't have their phones, they don't have Facebook, they don't have anything. They're just out in the wilderness all alone for days and days, and then and trying to build shelters for themselves and trying to stop from themselves from getting eaten by a bear and stuff. And so like just the gratitude, and the ones that like one woman was talking about, I'm so grateful that this rabbit has come here, that I'll be able to eat this rabbit and I'll have food for a couple of days. And she was crying. She broke down crying. Like a lot of them were crying.
There was the guy there was like a squirrel that he kind of befriended that was just hanging around, his campsite, his site and everything like that. And then at some point he was like, I love you, Mr. Squirrel, but I'm going to have to eat you. And then he shot him with a bow and arrow.
Oh wow.
And then he just started weeping. He just felt like this squirrel was, not afraid of me and was hanging around and everything like that.
Yeah,
and
terrible.
I killed him and ate him. And he left he missed his family, but it was just like, it's pretty upsetting. And then there was a guy who was just like, I'm not going to be like one of those blubbery people. I'm going to kill an animal because I need to eat. It's just like that. And I think he tapped out pretty quickly too. I think he hurt himself. I think he might have hurt himself. Like almost like one of the first days, like fell over and sprained his ankle or something. It was just like, oh crap.
Yeah, and if you can't move it, like they're building themselves shelters because it's freezing out. It's every one I've seen. It's like there's snow in the background.
Well, yeah, we're watching the Arctic season.
Oh, okay.
That's close to the Arctic Circle. So,
but I keep, I was thinking after a while, like watching this and thinking to myself, I'm like, I'm like trying to decide how many desserts to have. Like while I'm watching this, I'm like, I'm gonna eat my lavender honey ice cream, and then, maybe I could stuff like another rice cake, with Nutella on it, and then I'm gonna eat the bag of Doritos, and then I'm gonna eat I'm gonna make myself popcorn. I'm like, how many of these desserts should I have? And all the time wrestling with myself because I don't want to eat this much. Like, I don't want to eat this much. And then here these people are out in the wilderness, like they're surviving without eating all this shit. And like also like just like, kind of, I was just thinking of the excess that I have even in my life where, I feel like I'm a little bit, more attuned to minimalism, but I'm not.
Yeah,
not
and
at
it's
all.
so I get the same feeling like watching this show as I do when I watched like The Walking Dead or watched Station 11. These apocalypse shows where it's like, and I realized, well, like watching this Alone show, it's like I can't. Well, I'm a vegetarian. I've got glasses. It's like if I had to survive off the land, I wouldn't be able to do it. I wouldn't be able to cut up an animal and do all that kind of stuff to survive. And it just goes back to my apocalypse plan, which is to die early. That's my survival plan. It's like, and I think that's a fine plan. I mean, you don't have to go out of your way to try to figure out how you're going to live
All right. Well,
with the collapse of civilization.
Yeah.
It's like if civilization collapses, probably the best thing to do
you're
is
not
to
going to
die.
stay here and provide for your family.
Well, I would help, but the thing is that I think I would try, but I think it's like we've talked about this before too, is the Alive, that movie about the
Which
people
I didn't
who
see. They ended up having to eat each other.
Yeah, and there was the one woman, what's her name? I can't remember the actress, who was just like, no, I'm not going to eat people. And she dies. And, it's like...
Good. She provides for the others then?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, good.
Well, no, I don't know if they eat her. I can't remember. But it's just like, yeah, I think that's going to be me. I'm just going to be like, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm just not going to eat this
Back to
carcass.
how to let a TV show like this change your life. Since we're not really in the apocalypse right now, we're in FY23 and it's the beginning of it. That's what you're getting out of this is just like, oh well, I'll just die early if I have the apocalypse.
Well, I love watching it though. I enjoy it. I mean, that's just more of a superficial thing. I haven't quite figured out why I like it. I mean, it is to me interesting to see. Yeah, I am curious. It also helps me realize, like what you said. You said it in a negative way, which is like I can eat, 10 donuts. I can go I can get a dozen donuts right now.
Yeah.
You give me an hour, I'll get you a dozen donuts, right? It's like we have everything we could want here and we could get.
Yeah.
And realizing that up until recently, that was not the case. I mean, and thinking about that too is like, anyone who lived where we live now, 150 years ago, whether or not that was the original people who lived here or the people who stole that land and set up camp.
Forgot to do that statement.
That it was a really, really difficult life. Little House on the Prairie. The scary parts of those books as opposed to the TV show.
But I mean, still, I'm
that
still
story. I always remember that in Little House on the Prairie, where she talks about her father going out to the barn during the snowstorm, and he's like, holding on to a rope, and then thinking about how if he loses that, her father's going to die, and it's just that idea that you were definitely, people lived and still do actually, to be honest, in parts of the world on the edge, right?
Somebody just took our car. So I'm still like I'm trying. I guess I'm trying to not be on my phone so much, and I'm trying to not eat so much and stuff like that. Like I'm trying to not do the excess thing. So I'm trying to get this to like make me think like, oh, and even the worrying stuff too. Man, I had like a whiplash moment like a couple of days ago too. I nearly had a heart attack because I was late to a practice. And I didn't have to, I was thinking, I really don't have to be this upset, and I really don't have to race this hard. Life is going to continue and stuff.
You don't have to be in a hectic rush.
That was more than a hectic rush. It was like ridiculous. So anyway, yeah. So that's and I had something else to say about the show also. Like I'm enjoying. Oh yeah, I remember. I hadn't seen anybody tap out. For the first couple of days that I was watching it. And then like last night, like the guy, he's just been complaining. He misses his family, and stuff like that. And then he's like, I don't know what I'm doing here. This guy he's like, I've got days worth of food. I've got, he had like all kinds of food. His shelter was working perfectly for him. He was very comfortable. So the other ones were watching were like, they're like, I'm going to die if I don't eat something, cause this one woman been losing 6 pounds every day or something, or every week that she'd been there or something.
Oh, no,
Like this guy is just like, I'm comfortable. I don't have anything. I have this picture of my family and I'm missing them terribly. It's like 29 days. It's like, Jesus Christ.
Well, that was
dude.
the thing is that the first one I watched, that third season, a guy taps out in 2 days because he missed his family.
My God.
But he had to fly to Patagonia. I'm sure he was gone from his family already for a week or so, but it was like, he just...
I could totally last a week away from you guys.
And well,
Jesus.
But also just without anything distracting you, I don't know. And having to
maybe
fish. It's a little different, but most people do last a few weeks unless they're just super weak or
wusses
or they hurt themselves, right? And that's and they're also medical checks, so they do see people occasionally, like the medical team, although the Patagonia one, the medical team no one on the team, I think, or there was maybe one person who was speaking English and translating, but it was like the medical team was not, it's not like you could hang out with the medical team while they're weighing you to make sure that you're not, your body's not digesting itself.
So with this guy, like he's sitting on in this beautiful, like he's sitting like on overlooking like a lake, and he's like, I don't know why I'm doing this anymore. It was for ego, but now I think what am I going to get? I have a comfortable life. I have a job to go back to. I don't need this extra money. And then he's like, I think I'm tapping out. And then
and that's the subversive message in the show, is that most people, basically, that's what happens is 9 out of the 10 people, unless it's for physical reasons. So let's say half the people decide that it's not worth $500,000 to go through this anymore, and they don't need it.
Yeah.
Their relationships and other people are more important. And so that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And whether or not, it's a reality show, so that's a narrative that they're creating, I guess. But these people say that stuff, but it's
very subversive. And so the guy you heard deet deet, and then he said, "Hi, this is whatever his name was. I'm tapping out." And then I started crying. Like,
it's pretty emotional.
And then they showed the boat. You always say, "Oh, they're going to show the Apocalypse Now boat," and they showed the boat, and I was like, and then he explains to the people who came, to the people on the boat. He says, I miss my family too much.
It's kind of like the exit interview where they're standing on a beach,
totally
on a lakefront, and this emaciated person is explaining
why they're not doing this anymore. And then I look over at you and I'm like, man, Rick, what do you think about that? And you were like, oh, I fell asleep.
Well, that one, I've seen it a bunch of times. It's after you've seen a whole season, and especially if you've binged watched it, you see a number of people getting philosophical and then dialing the sat phone. And then, like I said, at earlier parts of the season, when it's early on, the boat shot just happens, and then oh, okay. But then they start doing things like where they have like 3 people who are about to die, right? Are starving to death, and then they'll show the boat shot.
Oh, and you don't know who it is.
At the beginning of the episode,
oh, okay.
And then they'll keep telling these people stories, and then they'll show another boat shot, and they'll just keep showing the boat shot, but they won't tell you who the
boat's coming.
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody tapped out. Maybe the boat is just waiting. The boat is waiting, right?
No. They'll show the boat,
is
and
coming.
then it'll go 4 days earlier, right? And
oh my God!
They start manipulating it.
Maybe
so
the boat is
hard.
a metaphor for death.
No, it's not a metaphor. It's not. There's nothing symbolic at all. It's the actual. It's
okay.
It's them losing.
Okay,
it's the moment where they
maybe
give
it's
up.
Symbolic of death.
Either they give up or they physically they're going to get. The doctor has decided that they cannot continue out there and they have to go to the hospital. Yeah.
April Smith says, if I had $500,000, I could buy friends or a family.
That's
See,
right.
a woman after my own heart.
There was one guy who was cocky like that, and then he was just stomping around, and he broke his ankle almost immediately on a rocky beach. It was just like,
I don't like. I do not
I'm not
like
one
it.
of these snowflakes, and then it was just, oh no.
I don't like crying to a TV show. I'll tell you that much. I was not happy that I was. That's why I was like, wanted to talk to you about that. Yeah, the boat crossing the river Styx. Exactly. Thank you, Larry. That's exactly what I was thinking of. But no, I'm sure it's not. Nobody's decided that was a metaphor.
Well, I mean, the thing is it a metaphor when it's an actual, like...
I don't know. Apparently
like, is it
you
a
didn't
metaphor?
have,
Like, so
high school
if
English.
there's a film, right, about people on the boat going
I'm having a
on the
déjà
river
vu now.
Styx,
Yeah.
right?
Is that a metaphor?
Is that a metaphor, or is that an actual representation of what's happening? You know what I mean?
Okay.
So-
look, it's a visual metaphor of the boat coming. That's a visual metaphor. We know that the boat is actually coming, but the fact that they're showing the boat coming like that.
I'm trying to think of an example of what I would think a metaphor would be. Is so like if
the guy was coming out of the
call
ground.
on the sat phone,
Yeah.
and then they show a duck swimming on the river, and then all of a sudden the duck keels over, or duck dives under the water and disappears, right? That's not the actual... That's
that
not
like
a
a
literal.
phoenix?
It's like the opposite of people always saying literally. It's like
Yeah.
if you say everything's a metaphor, even the things that are actually happening. Now, if you want to say it's a metaphor for life, which is...
That's what I meant.
Yeah, okay. And so we all... Yeah, okay. Then that's fine. Okay, so you were going there, which is like $500,000 in winning and surviving. That's basically... That's capitalism,
Rick.
right? Is that what we're talking about? It's a metaphor for capitalism.
Yeah.
And all these people are weak, and only one person out of 10 wins in a capitalist society, and the rest of them give up.
There you go.
And
See?
are just happy with what they have and the family they have and their lives.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what I was thinking about when we had a meeting and it was announced that we're getting a pay increase.
Yeah.
And it's not really a cost of living increase because of inflation. That was explained to us. But the administrator said it's symbolic. And I kind of chuckled. You know, it's symbolic of appreciation for the work you're doing. And I kind of laughed to myself because I'm like thinking, you know what? We live in late stage capitalism. The only thing that's valued now is money.
Yeah.
This idea of a symbolic token. And I wasn't criticizing them for what they were saying. I was just like, you know what? I mean, it's being whittled down. It's like we have a little bit of social status left for being college professors, but that's being whittled away almost daily, right?
Yeah.
And at some point, it's just going to be. And that was that clip I showed you from that Craig Robinson show where the 10-year-old is doing the like motivational speaking, and she's saying, "I quit. I'm not in school." Or you may be wondering, she's 10 years old. Why isn't she in school? I left school. Am I going to waste my time listening to someone who gets paid $40,000 a year? No, I'm not going to do that.
It's like a 10-year-old talking.
Yeah. And it was, to me, it was like
I think
a perfect...
she said, I quit school. Yeah.
Right. It's because, like, am I going to listen to a person who only makes $40,000? And
All
then
right.
I love the pause, a year, where it was like, even like, not even $40,000 a week. It was like $40,000 a year. Why am I going to waste my time with that person? Right. And I thought that was a perfect representation of late stage capitalism, where it's just like, yeah, there's nothing else but your financial
Just
worth.
money. Yeah. So we're later on today going to meet our son's girlfriend's parents. It's come to that. That's a thing, right? That's like a milestone. We're meeting. We're just, that's. Have you thought about this at all?
A little bit, but I'm not trying not to overthink it, because I think you'll do that for me.
Okay, yeah, like we're going to meet our kids' girlfriend's parents. What are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about David Foster Wallace. we're going to talk about. And what if they're like half our age? Did you think about
It's
that?
entirely possible.
I'm
Russ.
sure they're half our age.
We're old parents.
Yeah, yeah. Like we're not even in our 40s. We're like in our fucking 50s. They're like going to be going out. They're going out with people who are nearly 60, like grandparents.
Man,
We're their grandparents' age.
Don't make us even older.
Really
There's
depressed
no reason.
now.
You're rounding
They
up.
couldn't be that. Yeah, they couldn't be that. Well, no, they could be because one of our colleagues' mom is like younger than me, right? So.
Oh yeah, that goes without saying.
Yeah, but so yeah, these people could be. Well, they're like, they could be less than 30 years old, easily.
No, I don't think so.
Sure they could. Well, anyway.
No, I don't think so. But it doesn't matter. It's and it's just they've been going
What
on.
are we
going to
talk about? Like tell embarrassing stories of our kids or something?
I hope not.
Well,
Maybe
one time Graham left the house without his underpants on.
Just don't overthink it and just have
All
a
right.
normal conversation. Just let it be.
Okay. Well, anyway, I thought that was of note. Okay,
Noted.
what noted? Okay, what's next?
Oh boy, I don't know.
You got 4 minutes.
Watch the end of Better Call Saul. But there's not much to talk about there. Although my
Just
theory, which was
like,
influenced
right,
by
right then, like a whole bunch of like little emojis just went like every, go on.
So after I watched that movie Seconds, so spoiler alert for Seconds. So if you haven't seen the movie Seconds by John Frankenheimer starring Rock Hudson, cinematography by James Wong Howe. I don't know. Turn it off because you should watch that movie. It's pretty interesting, but it's basically about a man who basically gets there's this company that allows people to restart their lives, so you get a new face and a new new life, and they basically supply a body, so everyone thinks you're dead.
Oh, what's the
movie? You
movie?
start over. It's called Seconds.
Okay. Oh, cool. Danny says, "Did you watch Impeachment?"
Impeachment? I don't think so.
Seconds. So,
my theory so basically, I don't know. Yeah, I don't want to ruin it, but if you've seen Seconds, I started thinking, oh, that's what's going to happen with Better Call Saul. So the question is what happens when your whole life, you start your whole life over, you go through this service that does that. So that happened in Better Call Saul. Is he went to this guy, the vacuum cleaner guy, who gives people new lives. Criminals, right? They can. He gets a bunch of money and they start new lives, right? And so then the question was, well, what happens if everything goes badly with that new life, and then you want to try again, right? And so I thought that's thirds, right? Exactly. And so, not to spoil Seconds too much, but it's like it's problematic if you do that with these services. And so that's what I thought, because I had just watched Seconds, and Seconds is in black and white, and those last episodes of Better Call Saul, after he's got his new identity, are in black and white. I just started thinking, oh my God, they're going to do a Seconds thing where it's like he's going to call again and say, I got to get out of here. I've blown this life. I need a new life. And then I thought it was going to end like Seconds does, which it's not a happy ending. I think you can tell when you watch the movie that it's not going to be a happy ending, but that's not what happened on Better Call Saul. It was actually
was it happy ending?
I don't know.
I'm not
I think
gonna
the
watch
jury's
it.
out. Oh yeah, you're not going to watch it. Is it a happy ending? I think.
I mean, I'd watch it if I was.
It was a
trapped
human.
on a.
It was a human ending. I think it actually was. The more I've thought about it, it was not a mechanical resolution. It was a human resolution where it was, and again, hopeful, kind of like the Alone Show, where it's like, oh, it gives you this kind of hope in that people can be, good or can change, and yeah. So I think it was a good ending.
Okay, Danny Grimm says impeachment, a quote American crime story about Bill and Monica.
Oh yeah, no, I haven't watched that. Yeah, I've watched I've watched another American crime story. Yeah, I haven't watched that season.
Somebody asked me if I'd watched the Joan Jett
documentary. I watched that.
Was it good?
Yeah, it's always problematic. She talks a little bit about it, but there's lots of problems around Kim Fowley, who is the Runaways manager.
You mean like that are not depicted in it?
I think she
Or-
talks about it a little bit, but it's yeah,
Larry once-
basically yeah. No, but that's not what. Yeah, a Joan Jett documentary shouldn't be about Kim Fowley, but it's just Kim Fowley keeps popping up. He's pops up in 500 songs or history of rock and roll in 500 songs. Kim Fowley pops up too, and it's much more. In the Runaways film that was made a few years ago, Kim Fowley is not as evil as it seems like he is. So that was the only thing that seemed a little weird about the Joan Jett documentary. It was just kind of, but I can understand why there's not too much about him.
I'm really depressed thinking that after 30 years, the reason that Professor Resnick remembered my name was because I was one of like 10 women that he taught. All right, forget that. Larry asks, are you going to watch House of the Dragon? What is that?
I haven't watched Game of Thrones.
Oh, I haven't watched that either.
Well, no,
is that part of it?
I watched the first 10 minutes of the first episode.
Kim Fowley Jim Rondinelli says we also have Kim Fowley to thank for Hanson.
Yeah,
Jim Rondinelli also says new album title Human Resolution. Hi, Jim Rondinelli.
Yeah. No, Kim Fowley's as complex as Phil Spector, right? That's, maybe not. I don't know. I don't know where you rank them. I'm trying to remember the history of rock and 500 songs. I'm trying to remember the episode. I think is Kim Fowley in the episode. It was like there are 3 men in this episode, and oddly enough, Phil Spector is only the second worst of the 3, or something like that.
That's depressing. Okay,
Yeah,
Larry,
no,
it's the prequel to Game of Thrones. So if I watch that, then I'll be able to watch Game of Thrones afterwards. Is that how that works? Like that's like watching the Star Wars prequels. Yeah.
In order, watching.
And so I must give a plug to my other podcast, and you can give a plug to your other podcast too. But
we don't have a new episode coming out yet.
Podcast.
Chris has got we have a new epic 5-hour episode.
Oh yeah.
That he has to edit, so it'll be out sometime at the end of fiscal year 2023.
I'm doing a podcast with my friend Sarah Garibaldi. It's a ladies Star Wars podcast. It's called Forced. So you can find it through Lotus Pod on Lotus Pool Records.
My question is how are you watching these Star Wars movies while you're washing the dishes? You have a little TV by the sink or something?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We have see, we need you as a guest. But I'm behind on episodes too. Yeah, you can.
I could
can
be
I
just like a toxic. Can I be like a I
toxic
could just
male?
be toxic male.
Yeah. You don't even have to start.
Thanks. Nice.
All
It's
right.
just a joke.
It's
just
just
a
locker
joke.
room talk. What? How
was
about this?
just
Okay, now
joking.
I got to say something about, like I went into a deep depression after Joe Biden got elected. Because there was
Whoa.
like I didn't
You better clarify that.
let me clarify, because I didn't have to monitor the news and feel better about myself because the president was stupider than me. Like I felt really bad. Like I was like, well, what did he do now? Right? I always talk about this,
Oh,
And so now
yeah.
he's back in the news, and so now I'm like struggling. I need to start meditate or medicate. I need to start meditating for real.
Who says you can't do both?
Yeah, I need to start doing that because I'm just struggling with all this stuff. So like, oh, what did he do now? Is he gonna get put in jail? And this is all a reality show too, to keep us entertained and make us want to vote in the next election.
I'm just fascinated that in the past week somehow Liz Cheney's become a good person.
Yeah,
I don't know how that happened.
yeah, right. That's like that's
It's like saying
because she lost. So
what is it? It's like saying you drained the blood out of a baby, but it didn't die. The baby didn't die. It's like I'm not
what
going
is
to
the
kill
baby
a baby.
zombie now or
no,
something?
America.
Okay. Yeah. I maybe you got to. I don't even know. Like, would you rather Joe Biden goes against?
It's like being some like you murder someone and then you say
They were going to
but
die anyway.
no.
Okay.
That or But hey, I'm not Hitler.
Yeah. She's not Hitler. There you go. Yeah, that's good. So you're saying that she's murdered America?
I'm just saying that she's right about one thing.
The enemy of your enemy.
Yeah,
April
exactly.
Smith says.
I hate it.
Do we know you, April? Can I meet you? Can we all? We should all have like a Radio Zero like conference at some point where everybody just hangs out and meets and stuff. And yeah, maybe not. Okay, Larry says, now I feel like playing Battleship this weekend.
And that's the golden ticket. Thank you for this episode was sponsored by Battleship, a game for boys.
Me too, D2, Danny. All right. America's the duck in Rick's earlier. And Larry said something really funny. He said, you lost me at duck. And I didn't get to,
didn't get to taunt me.
I didn't get to say it because you were, and Dan would be
I'm
down for
confused by this duck metaphor.
Yeah.
Why don't you just come out and say what you were meant to say? Like, there's a boat coming to take me away. Why were you talking about a duck?
That just reminds me that I really like the character in Guardians of the Galaxy that's literal.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I think that's a hint that I should be playing the music.
Thanks for listening, everybody.